Hello, friends. I just want to put together a quick analysis and recap of, let's say, a lot of you requested. So, around how we analyze using profiles and order flow, the market action, and then eventually also lay out a map for the next week in terms of what has happened this week and just lay out a map for the next week for all of us. Okay, so I'll just cover Nifty and Bank Nifty. So Nifty, for example, yesterday I think the plan, as I said, was if we can hold above 16,550, we look for a bullish play. So now what happens is in this case there's a large gap of, okay, so the open was 630, 6 something. So what we want to see is whether the gap can be sustained or not, right? And that is where I think order flow and other factors come into play to find out what kind of pullback opportunities are there or whether it's a reversal opportunity or not. Okay, so first thing is whether the gap can be sustained or not. One way we look at it is the delta. So if you see the opening deltas are strong, the candle closed strong, so overall we would really expect this sort of a momentum to sustain. That is the first theory that you will try to put in place, that yes, trend has been up, so we'll look for this sort of momentum to sustain. Okay, that is the first thing. Then essentially we start looking into the order flow to figure out whether there are opportunities in the order flow or not to sort of create long opportunities, or we look for market reversal opportunities. So what we did, if you remember yesterday, once this opened, I'll put it somewhere. Yeah, once this open happened, I think I put a note that 620, 600 areas are where we can see some support coming in. That was one of the reasons. Is if you see, this was a close also. Number one, number two, we started seeing a lot of absorption around this place. So there was a large sell orders. Generally, these sell orders, if you see, triggered below the opening lows. So generally, traders who are looking to open reverse and look for a downside move, they get into this kind of a trade. So if they don't see continuity, they will want to come out. So we wanted to see this sort of an absorption taking place. So there was significant absorption without any follow through, and that's when we said that this level might act as a support, and we look to create long opportunities we once we start seeing some bullish delta happening. Okay, it's that simple essentially. Okay, on the upside, I think we had levels about, one was 675, I think that is one on the pullback, and which we got. And then once it started holding above 675, I think a 750, 800 is something that we thought is possible, and that's where we eventually got. Okay, so if you see this, once this started showing positive delta, then what happened is, if you see around again when sell side activity was taking place, I marked this zone as well. So there was again a lot of absorption here, followed by a strong bullish delta. So if you see, the sell deltas were pretty weak and not really sustaining much. So that showed that there are limit buyers, either sellers are weak, and also because the momentum was not there, so there are limit buyers present who are pulling in the sellers, and which led to further up move eventually once these guys get in, and then this delta move happened and it's led to a further up move. Okay, so this was the sort of a thing for Nifty. I think Bank Nifty, the plan that we said is, I think with one was 250 above hold. I think that was long, and then I think 380, 400. So once this happened, if you see, Bank Nifty formed a clear, profile ledge. So whenever this sort of a profile ledge is formed, essentially this sort of a ledge is formed, one trade is typically look for a break outside this region on any side, whichever happens. So if this had it fallen, I would have looked for a short trade. But once this happened and it showed, and it was showing absorption as well, because if you see, no, in this case, not absorption, but rather buy side activity. So the if you see, delta was constantly sort of trying to hold up, and the and essentially buyers were trying to step in and create long positions. So what it meant is, sellers were present in limit sell orders were present at this level, but they tried to prevent till some time until they gave up. And this was also evident in the order flow. If you see in Bank Nifty, where once we where we yeah, once we see this, I think we also discussed this in the group, where there was limit selling activity happening, and we had marked this level, and also we had marked this level as support, where we said 400, I think 420, 440 I said is a long, I think in the community we said that longs can be taken. If we why again, because this was a lot of buying was happening around this place, so I would expect these buyers to be active again when market revisits this level. Okay, and eventually we saw this activity. I think 420, 430, we got one bounce, we got second bounce, and then eventually this breakout trade happened. Okay, so that was two good trades in Bank Nifty and Nifty alone. Okay, Now let's look at the overall thing of what we did last week, okay, in terms of Nifty and Bank Nifty, and what are the possibilities for this week. Okay, last week was a pretty consolidation and range and consolidation day. If you see overall, last week this was the if you consider these 5 days, this is where markets traded in Nifty. So what it means is uh, this is the kind of a profile that you have on the weekly charts, right? So having said that, then it means this zone, which is where the most of the consolidation happens, any revisits to this zone, we should look for a pullback long opportunity eventually. Okay, so 650, 600, 550s are the zones where market should sort of take support and hold. Once if market starts breaking and holding below these levels, then we should look for a move much lower eventually, or we'll see a move lower. But overall, I think 550, 500 is a potential support, okay, on the markets essentially. Similarly, on the bank. So now, what is the big picture here? Again, I'll generally want to look at the weekly profiles and see what are we heading for. If you see in the past market, about 800 areas where multiple zones of support was created in the market, right? Around 800 areas, okay. So once we really broke through this zone, market has sort of held below this. There was one opportunity, was in around March, I think, when the Ukraine crisis happened, it really came back through, fell below, and then ricocheted back, and again then when it fell below this level, has sort of acted as a resistance, 800 odd levels. Now we are very close to those zones in the markets right now. Okay, so this is something where we are close to a zone where I think markets will look to take some resistance and retrace back. So our overall big picture view here should be that we look to see if markets can sort of pull back, create a higher low somewhere here, and then resume the upward journey, and then try to take this level up. I'd be surprised if it does in this move itself. So I would look for some retracement, and then and eventually look for a move up. So higher lows can be at 16,500, can be a little deeper as well. Okay, until we do not breach 15,800, the overall swing trend up move remains intact. Okay, if you just look at the profiles as well, quickly, not taking much time. If you just look at the profiles as well, this is a clear volume edge, and there's a clear volume zone that has now is established at this region. Okay, so any this region is the immediate support, essentially below this region or below the VPOC of this week, which is about 520 levels. We will look to sort of a downside move. Above this overall, I think the mixed major levels being 17,300, and probably I think also 17,100 levels. Okay, these two levels are what we look for above this. But on the downside, I think 500, 550, 550 specifically, and then around this lower consolidation zone. Okay, so top of this range, 300 areas are potential supports on the swing move. Okay, that is, we've really covered a lot of this journey. Especially this gap was a risk which we have covered. We tested up to 16,200, retraced and created a sort of a higher low and moved up now. So overall, I think any pushback to 250, 300 levels is another major support on the Bank Nifty. Sorry, on the Nifty. Okay. Similarly, on the Bank Nifty, if you see the major zone that market sort of, we just look at price structures. Okay, the major zone that market sort of has held a bit of a on and off is probably where there were a couple of lows here, and then there was this pullback highs here. Okay, so around 37,200 areas. Okay, 37,200 to there's no specific reference for Bank Nifty, I'd say, but generally 37,200 to 850, 800 areas. Okay, and this is where I think market is sort of a make or break zone from the swing point of view. Starts holding above, we look for absolutely newer highs to 39k, 40k reclaim in a swing view. But otherwise, we look for again a retracement somewhere, a retracement to lower levels, and then we look for a pullback opportunity. So next week could be a consolidation and retracement as a first take, and then maybe some news flow could see it going higher. But overall, I think the first expectation would be some sort of a consolidation and retracement. So levels to watch next week, one of them is of course your I think this 450 levels, and then a core level would be 36050, 3600 level, which is a retreat level that we are also seeing, mapping for this week. Okay, 36100 levels roughly this VPOC. Okay, but otherwise 36 sort of 36 your this thing, this VPOC of 450 levels. Okay, that is the level that you would want to watch. You would want to see if market is bullish, enough, it will take a much higher support at 450, 500 and try to pull up. If market sellers become active now, then probably it can retrace lower. Okay, we saw some selling activity towards the close. As I said, when I pointed out that market, probably this could be the sort of a pause. If you see towards the close, a lot of buying, a lot of selling activities are happening here, and then I think buyers are also getting absorbed, followed by some aggressive selling. So I think Friday's highs is a good reference in terms of whether we get higher or below. That is one thing. Alternatively, as I said, 36, I think 700 areas is an immediate area which you'd want to really see that we can hold below or above. Okay, 36, 700 areas. So I think Monday, what I would look for is, any hold below 36, 700 areas. I would look for a consolidation and a trade within this range, 36, 700, 36, 400, 450. Okay, if you start holding over 36, 700, I think then I look to challenge these highs and trade longer. But Monday, I would expect market to sort of trade in this range, 36, 700, 450, and the next range otherwise could be on the higher side. But generally, my this is going to be my first priority. Okay, I think that's all, guys. This is that's about it. We'll again meet on the community. Great discussions in the community, and if you are not in the Telegram community, do join in. I mean, we do a lot of good discussions around order flow profiles, etc. Thank you, everybody.